The first thing to say is it's hardly a secret to say that the majority of Whitehall was not exactly enthusiastically pro-leave. In fact, you can probably count on the fingers of no hands the number of permanent secretaries that voted to leave.
The constant refrain throughout my time in government was this atmosphere of reluctance to leave.
They thought the best interest of the country was to stay in. So you got that for a start off.
They cannot face up to enthusiastically delivering the mandate that they have.
It's deliver a deal. Full stop. Deliver a deal. Without making a sort of judgment of what the deal might be.
The extent of, with the licence that Number 10 gave to the civil servant team, and the extent to which that was exercised without the meaningful ministerial accountability that I think that a Secretary of State assigned to DEXU should have been exercising was the problem.
And that has meant our entire negotiation has been fearful, conducted in a posture of supplication. The entire approach is suffused by a reluctance to deliver what the public wanted, which is us controlling our wars in our Parliament, with all that means.
And the result is we have ended up with what I would describe as a Remainers Brexit. And that's the problem, that focusing on what they think matters about Brexit rather than what motivated 17.5 million people.
The straw that broke the camel's back for me was the final iteration of the Northern Irish backstop. And I considered it a betrayal because the clear and unequivocal promises by the government in manifestos and on the floor of the House and in speeches and in policy documents was that we would be able to leave the EU's customs union, leave the EU single market and bring an end to free movement of people.
Regularly overruled. So, for example, after President Tusk made his offer of security cooperation, participation in institutions of research, innovation, education and culture, he also offered an advance free trade agreement, all sectors, no tariffs, you know what he offered. Once he'd made that offer, I was very pleased because it matched the policy which DEXU ministers had decided, and I wanted to start putting it in my speeches. And one speech in particular, I remember, was edited by Number 10 to remove references to that offer, because of course it was not the offer which the system as a whole wanted.
Under this deal, where we were to go ahead with it, the Free Movement Directive would continue to apply because of the implementation period. We would still effectively be a member of the customs union and the single market. The jurisdiction of the ECJ would continue. Worse still, that would even continue beyond the end of the implementation period. It's the end date of which is now unclear in this agreement.
I came to believe over the course of my time in government that one of the reasons I'd been made a minister was so when the moment came of capitulation I would be asked to sell it, and of course I was not willing to do so.
I had a growing anxiety that I couldn't honestly state those positions without misleading.
It became apparent to me in the preceding week that the government was going to adopt a policy for EU exit that I would not be able to support. Indeed, I declined a number of meetings in the preceding days because I felt I could not bear to go through the business of being persuaded to capitulate and support the proposals.
There comes a point when compromise becomes total surrender, and politicians at the head of that process have to bear the responsibility for it ultimately.
It's difficult to be too damning about the attitude that's been brought to the negotiation.
For me, that ultimately is a betrayal, to be offered in a treaty, taking the British people and our nation down a route which wasn't their expectations or what was offered.